This episode is brought to you by Google Gemini. With the Gemini app, you can talk live and have a real-time conversation with an AI assistant. It's great for all kinds of things, like if you want to practice for an upcoming interview, ask for advice on things to do in a new city, or brainstorm creative ideas. And by the way, this script was actually read by Gemini. Download the Gemini app for iOS and Android today. Must be 18 plus to use Gemini Live.
This year, Santa's bringing the power of Energizer into his workshop.
Whoa, the Energizer Bunny's got so much power.
Wait, he's powered up all the toys. I think that means we're done for the year.
I love this bunny.
He's the hardest working helper the North Pole has ever seen. And he wants all your gifts to have the power of the #1 longest lasting AA battery. So this holiday season, stock up on Santa's and the elves' favorite battery, Energizer Ultimate Lithium.
Happy New Year! You're listening to 101 Part-Time Jobs with me, Giles Bidder. And on today's episode, we have Chuck Ragan, the legendary singer in Hot Water Music, has just put out his 5th solo record called Love and Law. And it's a deep listen. There was a time when the idea of Hot Water Music touring again was an idea out of the question. But for the last few years, they're putting out records every other year. Chuck's putting out solo records. It's the best of both worlds. If you're in the UK or in Ireland, you can see Chuck Ragan live next April and May, playing in Limerick, Dublin, Belfast, Liverpool, Glasgow, Newcastle, Leeds, Oxford, Southampton, and twice in London. That's a proper UK and Ireland tour. So you can get your tickets now there from chuckreaganmusic.com. And here he is on 101 Part-Time Jobs. If you enjoy this episode, make sure you click subscribe wherever you're listening to this, on Spotify or Apple. We put out 2 episodes every week with bands and artists who we think are excellent, and hopefully you will do too. And if you're able to leave 5 stars as a review, that would be massively, massively appreciated. Chuck Ragan's here after the jump. 101 Part-Time Jobs. As teenagers, when we were getting into pop punk and then punk rock, and we discovered stuff like Leatherface and, as well as hardcore punk, me and my friends and thousands of other people who we then, sort of met and became friends with over the years, we really found something in what we'd call, the DIY punk rock community. And there's something really engaging. And I hear that in your songs, like with this new record, with your new solo record, there's something really community based around it. And that's something you can't buy. You can't buy a community feel. You can't really fake it. And I just read recently, and I'm surprised I didn't know this, but your kind of upbringing is you spent some time alone as a kid.
Yeah.
So I wonder, that kind of community, it's needed by the person giving out those signals and by the people receiving those signals. That community is kind of imbibed in everything that you've done. I mean, where do you think that comes from and continues to come from?
Honestly, just the need for it,
Yeah.
Truly. And I feel I found very similar to what you just said. I found, a lot of the music and the ethics that I had ended up more or less falling into at a young age, I found through originally skateboarding, right?
Yeah.
And this is where I heard, a lot of what ended up becoming my favorite style of music. But at the time, I didn't know what it was, and somebody said, "Oh no, yeah, this is punk rock," right? And what I was hearing, it was attractive to me. It scared me at the same time. It felt like I was doing something wrong.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that I was doing something that my parents wouldn't like, and I loved that. I loved that. And in those days, it was very, it was not mainstream at all, and it was very rebellious, very dangerous, very violent. It was beautiful,
The shows
and
were violent.
everything, yeah, everything that had anything to do with punk rock, there was violence, and that doesn't mean there was hatred, right? That doesn't mean that there was, which there was in some aspects of it, but no, I mean, we were skateboarders, and our idea of fun was hurting each other and hurting ourselves.
Yeah.
That's how we had fun.
Yeah.
At shows, when we would dance, you know, uh, hurting ourselves and hurting each other is how we had fun. How we and you know, uh, kind of finding a world like that as a teenager, um, it blew my mind, because I was coming from a fairly conservative, Southern Baptist household, very wholesome, crazy, but for the most part wholesome. And I found this scene that just rebelled against the church and the state and parents and everything, right? And I identified with it. And in the process, I found a group of like-minded individuals, right?
Yeah.
That became uh, a family to me, and then as the years would unfold, and I would, find myself, meeting these guys, and starting Hot Water Music, and then from there touring, right?
Mm.
And even going beyond where, at a young age, we had friends that were going overseas, and that blew our mind. And what? We
Yeah.
can do that? Yeah. Oh, yeah. All you just got to get a passport, and you can, what?
Yeah.
Like, we can go play punk shows, across the ocean. And so now we're traveling overseas, and we're meeting more like-minded people that became, just dear friends, who ended up being our family, our brothers and sisters, that live on the other side of the planet. And my point is, over time, uh, we found this community.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we all created this.
It's
Like,
powerful.
we found each other, but like, this music community that we're just a small piece of the puzzle, right? Like, we all did this together, and some of us, I feel, very much, you know fought, uh at early ages to get to find a family, to find a community that, we identified with, a community that we felt like we belonged, a community that we felt did not, you know, uh, uh, judge us, or, try to hold us back from believing, one way or the other, and
All that stuff, it doesn't even really kind of fit into the confines of like the music industry or even being a band. It's almost it's outside of all that.
yeah, I think it goes beyond. It goes so far beyond, yes, the industry, or what people would call it, and I mean, I just think, in so many ways, and I'm not just talking about the music community per se. I mean, like, I feel there are so many people in art of many forms, um, especially independent art, where they are out making something, discovering something, creating something, you know, crying over it,
Yeah.
you know, uh, going hungry for it, sacrificing themselves and their energy and sanity to do something that they feel a necessity to share to
Yeah.
the world, or to share to no one, just to do it, to get it off of their chest, out of their head. I mean, for me, that's why, for me personally, that's why I write songs. That's why I spend the time to, try to open my mind and discover, what it is that's holding me back, or
Mhm.
what it is that I need to overcome, what it is I need to reflect on. That's what these songs are to me, and I personally have to do this. I have to do it for my own sanity and
Yeah.
mental health, so, and I would be doing it whether, you know, I was still, lighting these pages on fire, or, you know, or putting them out on a record for anybody to hear,
Have those things for you, those things that hold you back, or that sort of something that you can't quite get a handle on, it's just out of reach, that thing you're always
Mhm.
trying to get to, has that thing changed over the years?
No, no. Maybe it had a lot to do with my upbringing. The older I get, um, the more I feel I recognize and realize that some of these problems that I have, uh, some of these issues that I have, I've probably had since I was a kid.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, and maybe something that I will probably always need to deal with or
Hmm.
face. Right. And, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that is just ingrained in our DNA,
Hmm. Hmm.
of whatever that is,
Hmm.
that causes, um, anxiety or insecurities or
Yeah.
you know, uh, depression,
Yeah.
right? These are all very real things that I deal with on a daily basis,
Yeah. Yeah.
and some days I win,
Yeah.
and some days I definitely lose, right? Um, and to me, uh, that's just that's just a part of living, and that's a part of carrying on,
Yeah.
right? A lot of these songs that I use, I guess you would say, as a tool to get well, right?
Hmm.
As a tool to carry on, um, are very much needed in my life. And the process of writing, writing these words down, reflecting, discovering them, uh, sometimes stem from a pretty rotten standpoint,
For sure.
or from a dark place or sad place, love and war. There's quite a bit of sadness buried in there,
Yeah.
but to me, probably the most important thing in, journaling, or which to me is the same as songwriting, right? At least the way I've always looked at. It's no different, to me, having all these songs and as just other pages in a journal, you know, And finishing a record to me is very much of a form of closure to a chapter or that journal. And finishing that record, putting it on, sitting down, drinking a bourbon and listening to it probably for the last time, which is usually how it is for me. Like I usually listen to, when we're mixing and we're doing that, of course you're listening to it over and over and over and over again, but once you're fine with it and it goes away and it physically gets pressed into wax and you receive that record, I listen to it one last time. It's just a little tradition thing. And I reflect on it and I put that record in the sleeves, put it on the shelf, and it's usually the last time I hear it.
Yeah.
And it feels great in the sense that it's closure. Because again, even though a lot of the songs have a light at the end of the tunnel or some positivity that to me is crucial to have, they again don't always come from the best memories, right? They don't come from, some of them do, there's a few that do, but I don't know. Songwriting to me was always a lot more useful when I was using it to get over, some type of turmoil or pain.
Have you, I often wonder, I don't know, I'm 33. I'm much happier than I was when I was 23. And I feel like part of that is like acknowledging like, oh, that's why I feel lonely. That's why I get the separation anxiety. Sounds so dumb when my partner leaves, when someone leaves out or I leave the house or whatever. And I'm like, it's helpful to know it, to sort of see those things for what they are and actually kind of draw a line to when you're a kid. I got sent away when I was 10 years old for 3 years for being too naughty. And that, I'm dealing with that now, and which is kind of mad, because for the longest time I didn't even think about it. And I was embarrassed by it.
We blocked it out.
For sure. And so I think like doing these interviews is definitely a way that I process it, because it's like communication. And I think that's what music is. It's like communication. And I think that we see it in punk, but I think it's in all music, right? Is that you go to a show, you listen to a record, you see yourself reflected in the person that's on the stage.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I can empathize with you quite a bit, man. I mean, there's, it's crazy how there can be things that happen, in our lives, as kids, that could have been completely traumatic, and to where, we block them out. And especially in our overall society and how it's designed, for the most part. And even though here we are, we're a part of a scene, that for the most part, hopefully everywhere, but, is, anti-racist, anti-homophobe, like we accept all our people however they want to be accepted, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like there still is something ingrained in our overall world and our society where, men are not supposed to cry and we're not supposed to feel this. And, and we, in a lot of ways, even though we're a part of a loving, open-minded community, I know, and I turned 50 this year, and like you said, you're discovering things in your life right now. Well, brother, that doesn't end, right? That continues. And, I'm learning things now of, you know, some of my upbringing and some, the things that I went through as a kid and as a teenager that I think broke me quite a bit back then. But, kind of being a part of, a family where, the men were supposed to be tough and not show any fear, not show any pain, and just carry on and walk through it. Right.
Yeah.
And whether you were in the fire or not. And, you know, I, I think I suppressed and, uh, just buried a lot of things that, I had no one to, talk to or vent to. Right. And, it, it's wild that, here I can be, 40 years later and I'm dealing with it. But I think recognizing it and, understanding our faults and genuinely owning up to it, right? Owning up to our faults is the best we can do,
101, 101 part-time jobs. 101, 101, 101 part-time jobs. Makes me think of your upbringing and that kind of, men are not supposed to cry. I think of you in the back room in a pub in the 90s screaming these songs about how you feel. I mean, those are two worlds.
Yeah, absolutely.
My friend Lil, who runs Household Name Records, he was like, I remember seeing Hot Water Music in the back of a pub and 20 people were there. And there's lots of that nostalgia in punk rock, right? There's a lot of that, like, oh, I remember the first tour and in the back room of the pub in Brighton or da-da-da. How do you think about that nostalgia? Because, in one sense, it's nice to look back and remember those times and remember the good parts. But in other times, I suppose it's sometimes not helpful nostalgia.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the way I look at it is, it carved us into who we are today, and there's no way in hell that I could, I don't believe in regret. Right. And possibly because I'm happy where I am, or it's happy. I don't know what that word truly means, but comfortable, content, with where I am. I'm very thankful and very appreciative, to be surrounded by incredible people and to have a beautiful, hardworking, caring wife and partner. The best kid, that I could ever dream of, my son, and some great dogs, right? And
Yeah.
if I think about all the terrible things that we experienced and went through, growing up, playing, touring, there were a ton of glories, but there were also just a ton of just painful, like struggle, just to live and to eat and to stay warm and, and not, be homeless. Right. And playing and doing what we love to do. It's pointless to regret anything because it would have changed the course and I love where I'm at now, but yeah, Hot Water came to a point where, we were touring enough where none of us could really hold down a great job, right? Hence, like the name of your podcast. Like we worked all kinds of jobs, right? You name it. We did from restaurant work and all the way from washing dishes to white glove, fine dining, white glove service. Like, I mean, the full spectrum, right? Of different restaurant work from buried in the back, scrubbing pots to, serving, fine wines and you name it. And then construction, of course, same deal, from digging ditches to doing the finish carpentry. A lot of, I was in trade work for a long time and, did many aspects of it from form work all the way to the finish work, and, yeah, man. I mean, we were artists, we were musicians, and like most, and people know exactly what I'm talking about. It usually it's whoever's creating that art or music. We're usually the last ones to get paid. Everybody else is making money off of what we do. Yeah. And unfortunately, that shit hasn't changed that much, man. And it makes us, yeah, of course. I mean, we still have jobs. We still work. When I go home, I'm a full-time fishing guide and boat captain and instructor. And, this year's been a little bit different because we've been able to play quite a bit of shows, but for the most part, I'm on the water, 180, 190 days a year and, just grinding and, it's a tough job to keep everything going and keep the boats maintained, the engines maintained, all the gear stock, the licensing, the permits, everything that has to happen to ensure that I can have guests step onto my boat and be safe, be comfortable, and give them the best day possible. Like that's the easy part, right? The fishing, that's the easy part. Like it's everything that has to happen. It's no different than what we're about to do here right now. Here, I'll turn the phone around so you can see. But this room is about to be full of people, and we're going to step on this stage, and the show, that's the part, right?
Yeah.
Everything else, it's everything else that has to happen and, come together, from our driver, getting us here safe and sound and, trailer hubs being maintained and all the gear, everything that has to happen.
There's a lot going on there.
There's a lot of hours that go into it. And
so in some ways, nothing's changed. The crowds might have grown, the rooms might be bigger, but the amount of work that you put into it, do you think you're putting in less or more work than you were in 1997?
I mean, more work because, we do, we do care about it, and it also becomes kind of a greater responsibility as it grows, right? Your crowds grow, but your crew also grows, right?
Yeah.
And we have guys and gals that come out that, it's their livelihood as well.
Sure.
You're not going to see their name on the t-shirts or the marquee or the posters, but they have every bit of to do with this band and what people are coming to see and do. They're just as important as the people that you're going to see under the lights there later, and it takes my wife always said, like, it takes a village,
Yeah.
to make a tour happen. And truly, I mean, right now I don't know, there's 60 people here, to put together a 2-hour show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's 1:30 p.m. there right now, right? It's lunchtime.
And we've been up and going since 8 a.m.
Yeah.
And we'll be, probably going till about 2 a.m. So
The last times I've seen Hot Water Music and you in London has been great. I think the thing that strikes me is that, like, how much, like, energy, and maybe it's a sort of a cliche word to say, but passion. You're rinsing out your t-shirt like you've just gone for a swim at the end of those shows.
yeah, I don't know, for some reason I feel the need. I still feel the need to just destroy myself at these shows. I'm hurting today. I pulled something last night. We're all late. I mean, other than Cresswell, he's the young spring chicken, but all of the rest of us in late 40s and 50s, and it's not it's the backstage room isn't like the party scene that you go into the backstage room nowadays, and we're stretching, we're doing yoga, we're drinking ginger tea, and
Smells like deep heat back there.
yeah, it.
I think the way that you've done it with Chris Creswell and with Chris Wallard not touring so much, I think it's really beautiful because it's like you're moving with the times. I think now in music there's a lot more collaboration, whether it's kind of features on albums or evolving lineups. That's something that I get from it. I think it's really cool that you're adapting.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, we love it, and like I said, I mean, I just feel incredibly lucky and fortunate to have the opportunity and to be able to do something that I'm passionate about, that I need to do in the first place, whether people care about it or not. And the fact that there are people that care about it and get something positive out of what we're doing is just, it's just a bonus. It's beautiful, and
Hell yeah.
it's very much like fishing to me, which sounds funny, but it really is like, the type of fishing that we do, the excursions that we do are these many quests, right? These little journeys and these adventures, right? And there's so much more to it than the fish, right? You learn a lot about each other. You learn about yourself. You learn about the real world, like and when I say the real world, I'm talking about Mother Nature, right? Talking about the life and death cycles in Mother Nature, right? That to me is the real world, right? The things that will be happening whether humans are here or not, right? And tapping into that, and I personally am largely inspired, by Mother Nature and these cycles, these rhythms of the real world. And I hear music in it. I hear melody. I hear rhythm, and it's beautiful. And then the second you get caught up into that or reflect on yourself and realize why you ended up there in the first place, right? Why you needed to be there in the first place. You know, something happens and you have a fish on, and you go, oh, shit. Oh yeah, I'm fishy. That's right. And my point is, there's so many reasons we're out there, and that I continue to go out there. Uh, from just the pure inspiration of it and the beauty of it, but also to keep my finger on the pulse. And because I care about the waterways, I care about the quality of the water, I care about the species that live in and amongst it. And want to, I want to preserve that, for my son and for his kids down the road,
Yeah.
and I want to leave it better than I found it. Right.
Yeah.
And to me, connecting with Mother Nature, keeping a finger on the pulse, you know, um, where people who do that are usually the first people to notice a positive or a negative impact, right? Uh, by being out there year after year after year,
Yeah.
noticing these changes. But my whole point is, it's so much more than just the fish. It's just a bonus.
Hey, great chat, Chuck. Thank you for giving me the time. I appreciate it.
I truly enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it, man.
Just to end with, I think like working loads of different jobs, and I did some construction work, and there was one point I was doing someone's driveway, and my boss was like, "Do you know how to use this saw?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I didn't. Yeah. And I feel like those side hustles are kind of full of those situations where you sort of go along with things, and sometimes it works out, and other times it doesn't. And I'm more interested in the times that don't work out, and you end up spilling food down someone when you're doing service, or you fuck up at work. It's a work gaffe.
Oh yeah.
Have you got any of them? Any memories? I'm putting you on the spot here, but
yeah. I was working on an ultra expensive Spanish villa. This home was, if I remember right, I think it was a $28 million mansion, right? And I would consider myself a pretty decent finish carpenter. I did it for quite a while, and when I'm in the zone and I'm set up properly, I can do some pretty cool stuff. Well, I was brought in to do some trim work on this massive radial staircase, right? And if there's people listening to this that do much woodworking, they would know it's extremely difficult. And I hadn't done much of anything like this before. And, I was getting paid well already. And the contractor came to me and kind of showed me what he needed, showed me what he wanted. And I was already intimidated by it, but I just said, no problem. No problem. Probably very much how you felt when you said, "Oh yeah, I know how to run." and oh my God, I struggled with this job, and I think I did an absolutely horrible job. I mean, in the end, in the end, made it work and it was all fine. But I wasted expensive material. I made many mistakes. And anyhow, when the boss at the time, the contractor at the time, came back and saw the outcome, he looked at me, and just this look, and immediately I knew that he knew that I knew I didn't know what I was. It was one of the worst feelings because I realized at the time, like, I just lied to this guy's face.
Yeah.
I knew that I wasn't sure if I could do it. And I just, as confident as could be, said, yeah, no problem. I got it.
It feels bad.
It was terrible. I lied and I paid for it. Karma came back and,
That's a good one. Yeah, that's it. Hey, everyone's got to learn.
That's right.
Everyone's got to learn. Sweet. Thank you for that. Good story.
I haven't thought about that in a long time. Thanks.
Sorry.
Thanks a lot, Josh.
So there was Chuck Ragan here on 101 Part-Time Jobs. His new record, Love and Law, is out now. If you're in the UK or in Dublin, you can catch him in April and across May live. You can catch him in April. If you're in the UK or in Ireland, you can catch him live in April and May. This year, it's the 1st of January today. I hope you have a good one. Hope you got some nice things planned, some nice things to look forward to. I know after this break, I'm always in a bit of a slump, and just getting some things in the calendar with friends or family, or maybe just taking a day out by yourself, that's a good idea. It keeps your spirits high. I'm looking forward to everything we got going on this year. Thank you for joining us. And we'll be back next week with episodes with Lambrini Girls, a stop and chat with Australia's Delivery, who are putting out a record on Heavenly. It's a great record, their second album. And on Thursday, we'll be hearing from Alex Kapranos from Franz Ferdinand. So how's that for a start to the new year? See you then.
101 Part-Time Jobs is hosted by Giles Bidder and produced by me, Olivia Swash. This has been a Mighty Moon Media production.